Hello, welcome to Film Dive Podcast, part 2 of what we did last time. So, on that note, let's get into it.
Looking at you as a, you're starting a family, or you started a family.
Here we go. Yep.
It's, what I want to, because I'm single. I live alone. I can do what I want.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think it's for me. All of this is almost a non-issue, really. If I wanted to go to the cinemas, I can. If I wanted to, sit down and watch any film I want, anytime I can, whether I'm home or not. But I guess someone who's got a family, it'll be interesting to know what your thoughts and what your needs are moving forward for cinema, watching movies, watching TV shows.
Now, after experiencing what we've been through, is definitely just staying home. Because all of a sudden something so simple of going to the cinemas or going for dinner than the cinema is a massive, massive undertaking at times because your child is unpredictable. They might not eat dinner. They might not want to sit in their high chair at dinner. All of a sudden, you need to change their nappy. There's so many variables all of a sudden just to go do something that's very simple for someone that's single or, when you don't have kids. So my ideal night these days is just to stay home with my family and just get dinner, cook dinner myself or my partner and just do it that way and have family come to us. It's a lot of effort, and I do live half an hour away from the cinema now. Like, I used to live very close to the cinema too before I had kids as well. I was just down the road. It'd take me 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get to the cinema back in the day. But now it's half an hour. Add that up with a child, it's massive. And it's almost not worth it, to be honest. And I wouldn't want to drag my son into the cinema until he's at a reasonable age where I know we could all at least get some enjoyment out of it, because the whole time I'll be kind of in the back of my mind. I couldn't sit there and just zone out and watch a film. The whole time I'd be either wanting to watch his expression or just worried that we're going to have to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
starts making noise.
Noise or if the cinema's too loud for him, and it's just not worth it in my opinion at this stage. He's only he's just under 2 years old now, so ask me again in a few more years.
By the time your child, your son is old enough.
That's right.
It's going to be a different landscape anyway.
Absolutely. And it's funny, like, just adding on to that, there's the Village Cinema in Southland actually has a kids cinema where they've got like a slide and all that in the cinema. Like, it runs all the way down from the top to the bottom, and I think there's like a ball pit or something like that at the bottom as well. So you basically just take your kids and they run around the cinema while the movie's playing.
Yeah. And that's more of a, that sounds more like less of a let's sit down and experience the movie, more about let the kids have
basically
some fun.
That's it, yeah.
And it has its place. I mean, it seems to be doing very well. So if you want to sit there and watch a movie, you can. If your kid wants to run around, have some fun, they can, and you don't have to feel as guilty.
That's right.
As if when your kid starts misbehaving in the normal.
Yeah,
cinema.
I don't want to sound like an asshole or anything, but when I was a single guy or whatever, and people had their baby in the cinema, I used to just be like, why would you be doing that? I wouldn't do it personally with a little baby, bring him into a loud film. And so many people I've seen a lot of films where people would have a baby in there and it's crying and they have to go out, then they come back in again and it starts again. I mean, I've been in films where the babies are sleeping through the whole film as well. So I guess it's hit or miss with that, and it's a risk they have to take. But I always feel like I'm too paranoid to be upsetting people around me to be doing that,
Yeah.
But people do it, and good on them for doing it as well. Like, it's not easy, but I wouldn't do it personally. Just saw a new trailer for Zack Snyder's new film that's coming out last night. Army of the Dead. It's a new zombie film.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, it looked fun. It's basically a heist film in like Vegas.
Right.
And
Interesting. I haven't seen it. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be. It's definitely going to be interesting. It's coming out May 21st. I think straight to streaming. Netflix. He could do what he wanted on it. Like the studio didn't have any restrictions on him.
Yeah. He had Final Cut.
Yeah, Final Cut and everything. Like there was no pressure on him. It's the first film he's made since his daughter committed suicide as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it's cool because it's pretty funny because he's got the new Justice League cut coming out as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. So he's gonna have a good time.
He's got
a few things happening.
So it's gonna be interesting to see. But I just thought I'd throw that one out there because I was pretty excited by that. You know, it's gonna be dumb fun and silly.
Talking about things that are dumb and silly and that available on various streaming services. Have you seen an Australian film called 2067?
No, but I saw it on Netflix. But
yeah, I thought I'd give it a go.
How was it?
It's pretty. It tries to be something it's not.
There's a lot of those.
And it's trying to be this big, this stylized environment world thing, and be this really, it really wants to be something that it's not, but it really just didn't have. I don't think it had the budget to be what it wanted.
It's interesting because they're getting, like, I'm just looking it up now. They got Ryan Quanten, who's a Aussie, Cody Smith McPhee, he's a pretty well-known young actor himself. It's a frustrating thing because these kinds of films have always been around. You remember all the straight-to-DVD films that come out, or straight-to-video?
Yeah.
And it'd always be these kind of rip-off movies or films that are just half-baked or just don't have the budget. They get one or two known actors in it and the rest of it's just a shit fest, or and it's just like, why bother? Like, why don't you funnel that into making something that's obviously within your constraints? And
because that's the thing. Like, it's a film that obviously the director had a certain vision, right? And he had a lot of wants, but everything just wasn't working. The music was way too over the top and trying to be this epic thing, but it didn't really match the visuals, and it just seemed super cheesy. The acting was terrible. I'm sorry, but everyone in it was pretty bad. The set design and everything like that was trying to be more than it actually was. The cinematography was pretty meh. I'm being pretty mean about this film, but I think it's just a matter of everything.
You're saying how it is.
Not gelling. Yeah.
I'm looking at images for it, and it looks does definitely look pretty cringy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is like B-movie stats trying to be something that
it's got a 4.8 rating on IMDb and a 39 Metascore.
Right.
So it's definitely struggling to win over anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I still commend people that set out to do something that's obviously bigger than what, that's on a large canvas, and they're really going for it. But at the same time, there's a level of restraint when it comes to this kind of stuff that obviously if you don't have the budget or the resources behind you to create something that is very interesting with the budget, like take for example Alien, or a lot of those sorts of films, classic films now, but Ridley Scott, directors like that, or there's just so many of them really, like John Carpenter who did The Thing, or more like Escape from New York, like directors, or Halloween, directors that I'm trying to think of lesser well-known directors, but anyway, we're pressed for time, so you know what I'm going to say. It's just basically like you got to know what you're doing, and we've got so much at our fingertips with CGI and the technology.
That's one thing. If I'm going to give it kudos to something, the visual effects for the most part were done well.
Right.
So there was a few shots there where were mainly visual effects. Might be sitting on the roof or that kind of thing, and you can see the city in the background. All that sort of stuff works pretty well. it was just a matter of things not gelling, and that's really what it came down to. Is everything wasn't on the same level, and I think that's the one thing with any project, and unfortunately, it comes down to the director. You have to make sure that everyone is playing to the same, on the same hymn sheet, and if you're not, things can just feel very fragmented, and like this one did.
Interesting, yeah.
It's all about knowing your budget and knowing your restraints as well. If this film pushed back a little bit and stopped trying to be, the next huge, sci-fi film, it could have been a better film than it was. Knowing your restraints, knowing your budget, and making sure that you're leaning to those. If you can lean to any budget, it can be $0, $100,000, $10,000. It doesn't matter. If you know what your restraints are, lean to that and make sure the artistic, that the art and the artistic direction matches the budget you've got.
Totally makes sense. I'd love to be able to talk up an Aussie film, especially this Aussie sci-fi film, but unfortunately we get too many over here that don't create something that's more arty and classy. They always fall down that pit of trying to imitate Hollywood too much. And
I mean, if you get a chance, give it a watch, just so you can experience Australian cinema. But again, it's not the best of Australian cinema. I'm
looking forward to watching that Eric Bana one, The Dry.
The Dry, and that's done very well since, as I was mentioned earlier, like the cinemas here are open, but everywhere else they're shut. So we're not getting any of the other films that are available. We're getting the films that we're making here because we can. It's the only thing we can really run because it's all that's getting released. So Australian cinema is having its time to shine, which is nice. There has been quite a few Australian films being released. High
Ground is another
around
one
this time.
I don't know if you heard about that one, but
I have,
So there's quite a few Aussie films I'm actually really, really keen on.
That's the benefit, I suppose, of not having, not getting drowned out by Hollywood, is that we do, at least here in our little world, our little country here in Australia, the cinemas are free, so we can run these Australian films.
And we do have a beautiful landscape to utilise with our films, and it just works as the perfect backdrop for these kind of films, these thrillers. And
as a side note, Hollywood is effectively all rushing to Australia right now to make all the films, because we're basically the only country that can safely, without too many restrictions and issues, make films. So that's great. Well, let's get more films made here by Hollywood. I think it's a positive thing. We've got, they're all getting, a lot of them are either getting filmed in Sydney or sunny Gold Coast. So, I mean, if you one place to film, those are definitely some great places to be able to hang out while you're making a film, especially with the limited restrictions that we do have here.
Well, that 2067 was filmed in Adelaide, so...
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Adelaide have all their rebates, their tax rebates available. So that's what gets everyone drawn over there. Melbourne has their own thing. We're getting films made here, so it's
awesome.
It's great.
Shit.
If you're listening to this on any of our podcast channels, make sure you jump online and watch our YouTube, where you can see us in the flesh.
Yes.
Whether that's a good thing or not, that's up to you. Make sure you leave some comments if you are watching it on our YouTube. Thanks for watching or listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Adios.
Thanks for watching Mini Academy Online. If you'd like to explore more of our content, click on this or click on that. Like and subscribe, thumbs up, ring bells, do a dance, sing a song, drink a hot cup of tea or coffee, and I'll see you in the next one.